Welcome to Let's Move Across the Country. My name is Andy and we're visiting 4 zoos in 4 days. It's day number 2 and today we're visiting the Cincinnati Zoo. The zoo is not yet open though, so I work out and eat breakfast. What's going on? Bright early in the morning, about 9:30. Zoo opens in about 30 minutes, so we're gonna head out pretty soon. Gonna get a little bit more coffee and then we're gonna check out. Alright, see ya. Even though this trip feels like a vacation, I have a very strict timeline. Today is September 24th, and on the 28th, I sign my lease for a new apartment. On October 1st, I begin a new job. As I film these videos, none of this has happened yet, and I'm still right in the middle of a move. Little did I know that I would be moving from mishap to disaster for months afterwards. No, I didn't know any of this. Right now, it feels like a vacation, a one-way trip to a brand new life. We arrive at the zoo mere minutes after it opens. The parking lot at the Cincinnati Zoo is covered in solar panels, so it provides power and shade. Bonus points for being ecological. You go up an escalator, and then you go across a bridge, and you find yourself at the gate. I see that there are manatees here in Cincinnati, and I've never seen a manatee before, so I'm very excited. They're one of my favorite animals, but I just start wandering around when I get inside.
So we're here at the Cincinnati Zoo, and first impressions is this greenery is just beautiful. Check this out. This is a habitat for something, I don't even know. Oh, monkeys. The buff-cheeked gibbon.
These are not the buff-cheeked gibbon. These are a different gibbon located on the next island over. Things are not always what you expect them to be. Like, a few years ago, my family went to Orlando, Florida. I thought that since I was in Florida, I would get to see a manatee in real life. I found a place to go, but instead we went to Kennedy Space Center. I didn't get to see a manatee, but only space rockets, which was cool still. Well, often our expectations don't align with reality. Yet, looking back, it wasn't very realistic of me to expect that. Sometimes you see bamboo, and there's a panda. Mostly you see bamboo, and that's all there is. I'm under no impression that there's a bear in the bamboo by my apartment, yet I find myself making silly assumptions in other aspects of my life. Like, is this really a brand new life, or just different circumstances? Sometimes we make assumptions, it's simply a disappointment. Other times, there are serious consequences for believing something based on a lack of facts. Once something has been said or done, there's no taking it back. All you can do is take your time before an endeavor begins doing your research, and I guess it doesn't hurt to take your time once it starts, too. There's a woman in her 50s who stopped to watch this tortoise walk across the habitat with me. We both remarked about how slow they moved. We stood there for a few minutes and then exchanged a cordial goodbye.
So I just learned that Charles Darwin brought home a tortoise, and that same tortoise was owned by Steve Irwin. Isn't that incredible?
For the better part of an hour, I was lost, bumbling like a bee without a flower. I should have made a plan like in Indianapolis, but I boldly assumed that I could figure it out. After studying the map, I eventually realized I was going to have to backtrack. A person can easily spend 2 days here at the zoo, but I only have one. While I watched the vulture eat their breakfast, more and more time passed. I realized that I completely walked past the Reptile House, which is the oldest zoo building in America. Built in 1875, the Reptile House has Turkish design elements and features a 40-foot ceiling. While the building is old, the husbandry techniques are not. The Reptile House has been updated with the latest technology while maintaining its historic value. It is currently registered as a National Heritage Site. I read that all off a sign. You can find out all sorts of things by just reading signs. Typically, I would read all the signs that I could. This trip, I can't afford the time to read every sign. I would never complete all the zoos. To learn a fun fact about every animal at all 4 zoos that I was going to visit would be a Herculean task accomplishable only by an individual with a photographic memory. I am not such an individual. Perhaps if I had a photographic memory, I would be higher accomplishing. Or perhaps I would use my photographic memory to memorize entire plots of TV shows in case disaster struck and civilization crumbled, leaving only groups of survivors huddled around the fire bonding over stories of The Simpsons. I heard the story recently and I won't tell it to you here, but the premise was you never know how things are going to turn out, so don't be so quick to judge. Even with the photographic memory, the task of memorizing every sign at the zoo would be absurd, certainly more than a day's work. I like learning things though. Because there are times when I do feel clueless. More clueless than just getting turned around in a zoo. More like I don't have a clue what to do with my life. I'm sure this isn't a feeling only I can relate to, but it still feels overwhelming. Perhaps this is an instance where I'm too quick to judge. I shouldn't make assumptions. I always want things to be perfect, but that's an unrealistic expectation. That only sets me up for disappointment. If I only want things the best that they can be, that's a more realistic expectation. Eventually, maybe I'll be able to accept things the way that they are. Aardvarks sure are goofy, silly looking dudes, but I like them. This is my first time in a night simulated building, and it's pretty cool. It's a very unique way to showcase nocturnal animals without disturbing them during their sleep. This building is called Night Hunters. I always think of wild cats as like big cats, but inside here, you get to see some of the small cats, and that's pretty cool. Been enjoying my time at the Cincinnati Zoo so far. It has this winding quality to the path, and the plantings are beautiful everywhere you go. The design feels really intentional with plenty to explore and discover. It sometimes feels wild and adventurous, exactly how you want a zoo to feel, even if I get a little bit lost. It's easy to forget how lucky we are to be able to experience a beautiful zoo when there are bombs falling elsewhere in the world. How lucky we are to see a gentle giant from the mountains. This isn't something that the next generation is guaranteed. We live in a world on the edge, and it's up to everyone to care about it. Our comfort is bought at a price. How we act in this world has consequences, and sometimes everything feels out of our control. Something that we can always strive to have in our control, though, is our own self. We can control our actions and try to make informed decisions, use our purchasing power to support independent companies, talk to our neighbors and our coworkers, think about our future and what kind of world we are leaving behind. If everyone cares a little bit more each day, then we might be able to see some big improvements. Next up is the Insectarium. I've always felt close to insects because people always tell me, Andy, you are bugging me. Check out this tiny frog. It's crazy that things on this planet are that small. And there are things even smaller. Life truly is a wonder. It's truly an insect's world and we're just living in it. They've been out there building, destroying, fighting, and surviving for like 480 million years. The Cincinnati Zoo also has a butterfly walkthrough. And there are a couple of birds that are apparently very friendly. After making sure there was no hitchhikers, I left the insectarium. You would think that there would be dragons, but sadly there is not. Cincinnati is doing some construction work and expanding their elephant habitats. Now, after hours of walking, I finally arrived at the manatee habitats. There was a crowd by the manatees. I quietly waited. The manatee drifted in and out of a door that led to a behind-the-scenes area, focused out only by lettuce. I watched for a long time, but eventually I had to move on. There was a part of me that felt thrilled to have seen my favorite animal for the first time. Another part wondered how things might have been different. The Cincinnati Zoo works to rehabilitate these animals and release them back into the wild. So it's cool to think that these manatees we're seeing on video now might one day be out in the wild again.
1 o'clock right now, just saw the manatees. About halfway done, but I think I'm gonna get some pizza. We got 2 pizzas from La Rosa's. We got a cheese, and we got a pepperoni. And I didn't pay for either. They were free. Thank you very much.
While eating lunch, I realized that there was still a lot of zoo left to see, and at this point, I was feeling pretty tired. The 2 days of driving, walking, and going was starting to wear on me. It didn't help that every time I left my car full of belongings, I felt like someone was going to break in and steal everything I own. It did help when I saw some orangutans. I always liked the great apes, so much like us, yet so different. When I was younger, my parents enrolled me in the zoo adoption program, where I helped feed a baby orangutan at the St. Louis Zoo. Now that same orangutan has had a baby of her own, and there are probably kids helping feed that little baby too. So the cycle continues. These great apes are bonobos. Just like the chimpanzees, bonobos share most of their DNA with us. Yet, they are so radically different. It really shows you how small things can affect huge changes. I find sticking to a routine of small stuff really helps keep me focused to make changes in my own life. When I move into my new apartment, I can start building new routines, as well as keeping my old ones. It's my same life after all, just with different surroundings. There's a desire that after a move, everything be different. It's disappointing when things aren't, but it's important to realize that's not how things work. You have to be doing the work to see results, consistently working, not just for days or weeks, but years. Otherwise, it's nothing. How can I take my life and transform it through work? How can I improve? I know I have plenty of ways to grow still. I'm learning that even on this trip. I spend some time in a peace garden and think about what the future holds. What am I hoping to find in this move? Is beauty, rewards, love, career? I'm not sure I even know what I'm hoping for. In some ways, it was an impulsive decision, but you can also call that a gut feeling, and my gut was telling me to do it. I sat on the decision for the better part of a year, through trial and tribulation, turning it over in my head. Then, after all that time, I stuck to my gut. Despite the fear and the worry, I went through with the move, even if I didn't know my goals or what I aimed to achieve. I don't think it was the wrong decision. Maybe I could have spent some more time thinking about it. But even if my apartment is crummy, even if I don't like my job, this is one of those things where I have to wait a little while to see the results. Can't be too quick to judge. Maybe all of these things may turn out to be a blessing. I was able to see a penguin feeding while inside the Wings of the World building. I used to spend a lot of time with the penguins while working in St. Louis, but that's a very different experience than what's in Cincinnati. In St. Louis, it's cold, it's smelly, it's noisy. But I loved it. Seeing these rock hoppers, the tiny penguins with the yellow feathers, it makes me think of my favorite penguin from St. Louis, good old Teresa. Of course, it's sad to think that I may never see Teresa again, but part of life is loss and change. I will always have my memories, and if I'm lucky, there will be plenty more in life that will create excitement. Then I can share those memories just like I'm doing now. If you're still watching this, I'd like to say thank you, and I hope that you brought your conductor's hat because now it's time for the train. There's one station for the train in the Cincinnati Zoo, which is located close to the entrance of the Africa section. I bought my ticket, but I wasn't the only one. The line was so long. I waited, but it didn't take too long before it was finally my turn to ride. I did give my phone to a random zoo employee, but that turned out totally fine. The Cincinnati Zoo train is a beautiful train ride. I got to see some wolves trotting alongside the tracks, and the ride really highlights the beautiful plants at the Cincinnati Zoo. The train ride is super scenic. The track runs through the interior of the park, unlike the Indianapolis Zoo that ran the outer perimeter. My favorite part was when we went over the lake. I learned how to use a different skill on my GoPro, but you won't see me use it again in this video. Overall, I think the Cincinnati Zoo's train was the best zoo train I had ridden. The only section left for me to explore was Africa. It was nice to have a small break on the train, but my day was not done. It being the end of the day, I pretty much did a speed run through Africa. I took a left and I saw a cheetah cat, I saw an ostrich bird, a painted dog, a meerkat. I don't mean to sound so blasé, it isn't that I wasn't having fun, because I was, but I was getting tired. There is a beauty and wonder wherever you go if one remains open to finding it. Like one such Fiona the hippo, who was born weeks too early on the 24th of January 2017. Anxieties were high about her survival. It took a whole team of dedicated experts, but she became the smallest hippo to ever survive. It shows the incredible veterinary care that goes on in a zoo. It shows incredible things can happen at any time. I just wasn't really open to all of that. I was ready to see some giraffes and to hit the road. I just didn't know where to find them. In truest fashion, I did not consult my souvenir map, but instead just started walking. It seems like I walked clear past the giraffes somehow. Maybe I was distracted. I had a lot of fun at Cincinnati Zoo between the habitats, buildings, and plantings. In any case, I didn't find the giraffes. Instead, I found the elephants, and they were having a snack. After looking at my map, I learned that I once again would have to backtrack. And then I found the giraffes. Tomorrow at the Columbus Zoo, I would feed a giraffe. In Cincinnati, they would be the last major animal I see. There are more videos like this to come, so subscribe to be notified. And if you like this video, that would go a long way too. Thanks.
It's just past 3 o'clock here, and we finally found the giraffes. We're about to head out.
Right before I left though, I saw these scooters dressed up as different animals, and I knew I had to ride one. That was fun, and I also bought a couple books from the gift shop. I touched this snake, and thus ended my time at the Cincinnati Zoo.
All right, so it's about 4 o'clock. We just finished the Cincinnati Zoo. Beautiful exhibits. The next stop is Columbus, so we got about an hour and a half of driving. Let's go.
The drive to Columbus was an easy hour and a half. It wasn't a lot of driving, but every mile brought me closer to my final destination. What awaited me in Maryland? What awaited me in Columbus? Not sure what to expect. I won't assume anything too crazy. Things are often what we make them. La Quinta might be a budget chain to some, but to me, it's part of a bigger adventure. I get there and I check into my hotel. We have made it to Columbus, Ohio. Check out the hotel room. King-size bed, funky wall art, nice couch. Pretty good stuff. Of course, I quickly got bored in my hotel room and decided to go out to eat. Whenever you travel, you should try to eat at places you can't have where you call home. I chose The Rail, a restaurant that is all Ohio produced. The food was good and the concept is unique. The bartender kept giving me free drinks, so I'd say it was a great restaurant. It was a great day all around. The Cincinnati Zoo was fantastic. It would end up being my favorite zoo that I visit. But I'm so excited to see the Columbus Zoo. There will be plenty of zoo content to come, so check it out. Thank you so much for watching.